afterwards, and he said, we'll see you again, and it counts.
Right.
And he'd be right.
Yeah.
We're going to see them again this week, and this has been the topic of conversation, right? You can do it in the regular season. Can you do it in the postseason? We're going to see how it shakes out next week.
Yeah. Listen, man, this was a great win, obviously. Any way you get the win from the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the difference of this game was that the Buffalo Bills didn't make any mistakes, whereas the Baltimore Ravens did, because you can't even say that the Buffalo Bills necessarily, outplayed the Ravens in a traditional sense. I mean, Josh Allen was 16 for 22, 127 yards, 5.8 yards per attempt, and an 86.7 rating. But he had no interceptions, no fumbles, no nothing. He managed the game in the exact way that he needed to manage the game. You compare that to Lamar Jackson, who has technically, a better box score in a way, but the loss. I mean, Lamar was 18 for 25, 254 yards, 10.2 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, and a 114 rating, but a fumble and an interception. I mean, that is the game right there. And that is why taking care of the ball just matters so much. So much. That one interception was just, you're just like, how do you explain that? And then the one fumble is just kind of like, that's what happens with these quarterbacks, both Josh Allen, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, any of these quarterbacks that are always making plays. You're going to have fumbles. You're going to have moments like that, just the way it is. And it just so happens that it happened in the playoffs when you can't have it. And then the punch out on Mark Andrews, like that's the thing. The Bills stepped up. They were able to take advantage of any of the mistakes that the Baltimore Ravens did. It's exactly how the Kansas City Chiefs have been winning. It's exactly how the Kansas City Chiefs have been winning. We're not going to make mistakes. I think the Bills had one penalty. And outside of that, it was just like, we're not going to turn the ball over. We're not going to make any bad mistakes. We're going to be smart. And then when they kicked that field goal, I was like, yes, like that is smart. The one thing that I didn't like is that they called the timeout, because I'm like, you should have already known what you were going to do. You had 2 plays, it was a third down, and he was like, if you're not going to convert it, or if you don't get the touchdown, then you should already know what you're going to do, because you might have needed those timeouts. As we saw, they almost tied the game up. They should have tied the game up, and then at least it would have been 3 timeouts, and Josh Allen would have had the ball. And then who knows? Because that's what they're saying. Oh, this would have gone into overtime. You don't know that. The way how the Buffalo Bills were moving the ball too at that point in the game, it's not hard to imagine that they would have. All they needed was a field goal. Of course, the weather and who knows how deep, but I mean, this was not the game that I was expecting to see. This was not the style of game that I was expecting to be. I don't know if it was the weather. We were definitely expecting like a pretty big just clash of Lamar and Josh Allen. That's not necessarily the game that we got. At least that's not the game that I saw. This was a collective team effort. The defense stepped up. The offense took advantage of the turnovers. Everybody was alert and ready to go. Hard tackles. Again, the defense was opportunistic. The run game was awesome. 36 carries for 147 yards. But again, you look at the Ravens were 7.3 yards per play, and the Bills were 4.6. The Ravens had 416 total yards. The Bills 273. But again, they didn't turn the ball over. They didn't make their mistakes. They were 3 for 4 in the red zone, 5 for 11 on third, 1 for 1 in fourth. Right, only one penalty. And then there you go, man. I mean, like, now you're going to the AFC Championship game because you took care of the ball. You were smart. You did not make that egregious, oh my God, how could you do that? Whereas the Ravens did. Derrick Henry dropping the ball, Mark Andrews dropping the ball, literally. The Bills played how they wanted to play. It was 21-10 at half. Didn't get as much going in that second half. They definitely kind of slowed down a bit, but still were smart, still were in control, didn't try to force anything, didn't feel that they were stuck in the mud, didn't get anxious when the Ravens started getting momentum. There was times that Lamar Jackson, especially on that final drive, had over that touchdown pass, had all day. I mean, literally, I could have been back there making that throw. I mean, all day. So this is where it's going to be a fascinating game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm going to, talk about the Chiefs way more, the Chiefs-Bills game, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and whatnot. But it's just this is so fascinating because I really do think this is exactly how the Kansas City Chiefs have been winning their games. So, and normally under these circumstances, I'd be like, this game, you're not good, it's not good enough to beat the Chiefs or this or that. But it's just well, actually, you played flawless football. I do think the Bills need to play better ball because I don't think Josh Allen's going to be able to beat the Chiefs. Well, passing 127 yards, 5.8 yards per attempt, and an 86.7 rating. And I think he had 2 carries for 20 yards. You're going to expect a bigger game, but if you play perfect ball and don't make any mistakes, and your defense steps up and you force turnovers on the Kansas City Chiefs, then you do come away with the win. So it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating. This was like I said, I'm still processing this game because it's just not what I was conceptually expecting, going into this game. I was expecting just more offensive production from both sides. And I wasn't expecting the Ravens to be fumbling and throwing interceptions. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting just really high, complete level ball. And again, the Bills started off, great. They took advantage of the turnovers, but then that second half, not as much. Then even, defensively, the Ravens were able to really get going. Where was it? Derrick Henry obviously went on some, beast runs. The one, it was a touchdown drive with Henry and Hill, etc. 68 rushing yards to score that touchdown. The Ravens were 7 for 10 on third down, 2 for 3 in the red zone, 1 for 1 on the fourth. Henry was 16 carries for 84 yards. That's 5.3 yards per carry. And Hill was 6 carries for 50 yards, 8.3 yards per carry. So, there's things that the Bills absolutely have to clean up, but obviously really, really, really exciting to win. This is obviously what you want to see if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. But I guess, like, for me, for both these teams, the Ravens and the Bills, this was always, like, about getting to the AFC Championship game, about winning the AFC Championship game, about getting to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl. So it's just like, again, this is one of those other games that you just can't be like, this is amazing, let's go, that's what we're here for, we got this. Like, it's always kind of like, all right, on to the next one. Because what would you say? They win this, but then they lose to the Chiefs. You would say, I'm done. Goodbye. See you later. You'd shut down. Like, it's always been about getting to the Super Bowl, winning this AFC Championship game, beating Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. But this was obviously an amazing second step to doing that after the win versus the Broncos and the win versus the Ravens. But yeah, I at this point, considering how this game unfolded and what I saw out of the Chiefs against the Texans, I can't predict the style that I think that this game will be. Like, I have no idea how this game is going to unfold now. Zero. And what happened in the regular season is meaningless. It was the regular season. I don't even know at that point of the season, did they have DeAndre Hopkins here? They definitely didn't have Brown because Brown was injured. They didn't have Pacheco. And I know the Bills were down some people as well. So it was like, we're seeing 2 different teams playing 2 different types of ball right now in terms of what they were back earlier on in the season. Also, the Bills were home. Now they're going to be away. So, I have no idea how that game's going to unfold. But I do think that actually the Kansas City Chiefs need to play better ball than they did against the Texans to beat the Bills. And I think the Buffalo Bills need to play better ball than they did against the Ravens to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So which team is going to play better? Which team is not going to make those mistakes? Not going to turn the ball over? Because we saw the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Texans where the Houston Texans, like, again, had more total yards. Like, I think they pretty much had them beat on all the main categories and no turnovers, but still lost. Like, that's where football can be crazy. That's why you can't just chase the box score. And so that's why, the Buffalo Bills deserve all the credit for this, because they never put themselves at a disadvantage. And sometimes that is just the name of the game. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Buffalo Bills win over the Baltimore Ravens? How'd this game unfold for y'all? What did you guys all think about it? Any thoughts moving forward into this week against the Kansas City Chiefs? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.